Coach, you got off to a real good start and some breakdowns. What happened with the guys?
Well, I'll tell you, like you said, they came out with an incredible amount of energy, and you know what we've talked to them about and what we understand is that we have to train our guys to sustain that energy, sustain that focus throughout the game. You know, and honestly, that's a challenge. But we gotta be able to do that. We gotta be able to sustain our energy, sustain our focus. When we looked at the video and counted errors and counted missed tackles and counted things that we got wrong, most of those came in the second half, you know. And then I'm sure Coach Morris talked about it, but whenever we met difficulty throughout the game, you know, our guys, they let go of the rope, you know, and that's training. When we talk about changing the culture, it's every day, it's every game, it's every play of every game. Is that we have to continue to train our guys to do it the right way. Train our guys to understand that there will be difficulty throughout a game, but you gotta keep going. That they're gonna make a play, or they're gonna make a play on offense, but that can't affect what's going on defense. Same thing if the special teams are not playing well, or if they give up a play on special teams, we still have the responsibility to go out and play great defense.
What was the biggest impact on you and your defense when Jonathan Yenga got ejected?
Well, I mean, of course, Yenga is he's a force. He's a leader on our defense. He does a lot of things that you don't see in the stat sheet for us. So to lose him, and then to have Coach McDaniel have to shuffle the linebackers, and sometimes even had to put guys in there who hadn't practiced at that position because of the fact that he's such a placement there at will for us. So it affected us, but that goes right back to the first question, is that sometimes that happens. Sometimes we are met with obstacles during a game. It may happen early, it may happen late, but we have to be able to recover and keep moving.
What's been giving you guys problems with the quarterback run game this year?
The quarterbacks. they've been able to run it. But honestly, if you look back at the guys that we face, they are the same. They're the same character as Matt, and he gives defenses problems. So it's just a situation where the quarterbacks back in the 1920s, they went out to pass the ball, and now they're running with the ball, and that just really presents a problem for the defense, because when he hands it off to the running back, he's not normally blocking, and so you're able to match up the numbers. Well, now that running back who he was handing it off to is blocking for him, so you got to be perfect. You got to be perfect as a defense. And you can't miss a gap. You can't get what we call get cut out of your gap, or there's going to be it's going to be a big play. And when talking about last week, and what happened there when they brought that really good runner in, you got to be perfect. You got to be perfect as a defense. And this is once an offense decides that they're going to run their quarterback, then it really presents problems for the defense. So we got to get our guys to understand that and this is what we'll face again. When you're facing a running quarterback, all gap fits have to be perfect, and your tackling has to be perfect, because a lot of times it's one-on-one tackling, because he still has the ability to be able to throw the ball. So you got to be good in coverage. You can't just stack the box. You got to be good in coverage. And if people have capable receivers, it really puts the defense in a particular place.
How much is missing Zach Wood the last couple of weeks affected that?
He's just like Jonathan up front for us. He's a big time leader. Now he's on the sidelines, but for a player, if you're not playing, it gets to be very frustrating, discouraging. To be able to encourage your teammates when you're not out there with them. And But he and Jonathan, when we came in at halftime, you know, these guys, they're good people, they're good kids, so they do the best they can, but without guys like that in your lineup, it brings them down just a little bit.
With Zach Wood out of the lineup, Deion Green has played more and didn't have the benefit of going through spring with you. Can you talk a little about just his development and when you've seen him, when you watched him on film, what you thought of his performance?
Well, Deion there's flashes. You see flashes when you watch him, and I think the primary reason that you see flashes is because, you know, those defensive linemen, they're not, you know, you can't put them out there 40 plays. You can't keep those guys out there because they just become fatigued. They don't run as much as defensive backs. You know, you can get a defensive back and he can play a 15-play drive with no problem. But defensive linemen, especially with the way offenses make them run sideline to sideline, and with the pressures that we put on our guys to play, you know, to the whistle and to the ball every play, you see flashes. But we have to make sure that guys like Zach are healthy so that he doesn't play as many plays as he's really been forced to play. That also puts pressure on the younger guys to step up and be able to, if we got an injury with Zach, we can't play Deion every snap. Spencer Holly and those guys have to step up to be able to not let there be a tremendous fall off when we go to our second tier player.
You moved a lot of folks around, or you put a lot of different people in. Anybody show you anything that might earn them some extra time this week?
Well, I think that, and nobody really has talked and questioned me about this, but what we did is, because of the way that Kyron Mitchell has played and because of the strain we've had to put on these defensive backs, we moved Shaq back to boundary safety, and he and Jordan Wyatt and Darian Richardson have a little round robin, which I talked earlier about defensive backs and their ability to be able to play more plays than defensive linemen, but we're just in a situation where we're playing versus offenses that have us incredibly spread out. So he's one with that move who has really lit up and shown us what he could do. He could, you know, the things that he does at the star position have been, you know, adequate for us. But we just find ourselves in a place where we got to get Kyron Mitchell on the field, and his instinctiveness, his ability to be able to make plays. You got to just find a place for him on the field. So it has actually worked out great for us to be able to put him in that rotation with those guys on the back end.
What did you think of how Matt McNew played with his playing time this week? Growing pains?
Well, he's a freshman, and you know, when you play with freshmen, you get some funny stuff. You know, you go into it looking to make a tuna sandwich, and you got tomato soup, right? But he in his plays, really pleasing. In practice, we've been impressed, but we continually tried to hold out and be able to redshirt him. But you know, when you lose Jonathan Yenga, you know, you lose some different guys. Nick Horton been struggling, and Anthony Roan struggling here or there, injuries. We just end up being forced into that situation, and it hadn't been a bad thing for us. So we're excited about what Matt is going to be able to develop into.
Some of those struggles at linebacker, look, you had Kyron playing a little more lined up at a conventional linebacker spot. Was that because of some of those struggles, or also to stop that quarterback running game that you guys?
Well, when in some of our sets, that's kind of what we do is they force you into that, to stacking your box with the linebackers, and now when you do that, you put pressure on your guys in coverage. You know what I mean? So some of that was kind of twofold, a little bit of an injury situation, but then also to assist with that quarterback run game.
Beginning of the year, you mentioned Jordan Wyatt as a guy with talent, who needs experience, needs confidence. Now he's got 5 games and he's got a couple interceptions. How's he developing in your eyes?
Well, it's same thing, you know, with him as in Matt, except we had a little bit of a cushion with Matt where we could have other guys. Well, with him, you know, we were in a situation where we kind of had to put him out there and be understanding of him and his growing pains. So where he's come in 5 games, we're excited about where he's going to be. Is he there yet? No, not at all. But when you have a guy who is a redshirt freshman, sometimes you just think. Now, like Cortland, for example, as a receiver, that guy he doesn't have to get people lined up. There's not a lot of there's not a lot of communication. There's not a lot of checks. With this guy at his position, he's in charge. You know what I mean? He's in charge of a lot of things. And when you put that on a freshman, you know, it's a little bit scary for him. And it's a little bit scary for coaches. You know.
Coach Morris mentioned the need for more speed in the secondary. Are there any thoughts about moving some offensive pieces to your side of the ball?
We've discussed that, and you know, honestly, we don't know if that's the answer. Actually, that's why I'm in here today. I want to see if any of you guys or ladies would be willing to try out. But no, seriously, we've looked at some guys, but they don't necessarily fit. You know, what we probably faster, you know, in 40 time, but you know, when you end up having a guy have to make calls, make adjustments, move, and keep leverage, you take a little bit of your speed away from him.